Welcome to the capital of Germany, Berlin. With some 3.6 million inhabitants, it's by far the most populous city in Germany, followed by Hamburg, Munich, and Cologne. As you walk through the streets of Berlin, you'll undoubtedly encounter a lot of history, especially going back to World War II and the following division of Germany and Berlin itself into East and West, which ultimately ended with the fall of the Berlin Wall and the reunification of Germany. Before we start the tour, I want to talk about a few things. Berlin is located in the northeastern part of Germany, not far from the Polish border. You definitely don't need a car when visiting Berlin. Their public transportation system is excellent and gets you everywhere. Like other big German cities, Berlin has the U-Bahn, which is the underground or subway, and also the S-Bahn, which in general takes you longer distances further out of the city. Both systems can ultimately be seen as one, as you can easily switch from one to another to get to your destination. Alright, let's look at hotels. There are definitely many to choose from. I would just make sure that your hotel is close to a S or U-Bahn station and that you can get to the main areas relatively quickly in order to save time. I personally stayed at the AC Hotel by Marriott Humboldt-Hain Park, which I can certainly recommend. There is also a Moxie Hotel next door. It's a short walk to the S- and U-Bahnhof Gesundbrunnen, and from there you can easily get to the main areas of Berlin. Let's take a quick look into the culture. Known as the Berliner Schnauze, the locals are frank and nonchalant in demeanor. Don't expect a lot of emotions or questions like, how is your day going? Berliner are very direct and tell it how it is. There's absolutely no BS at all. Also note that they have their own distinct dialect, so if you brushed up on your German before your visit, you might not understand some words when Berliner talk amongst themselves. Food-wise, Berlin is known for the Currywurst, a fast food dish consisting of a sausage, usually bratwurst, cut into bite-sized chunks and seasoned with curry ketchup. You'll find a so-called Currywurstbude, a stand that sells this fast food, at almost every corner. Let's briefly look into the history. While visiting different sites on this tour, I will talk about the rich history of Berlin. Hitler committed suicide in the final days of World War II in a bunker as Soviet troops entered the heart of Berlin. What followed was the separation of Germany into East and West. The East was controlled by the Soviets and the West by the Allied forces of the US, UK, and France. The official name of East Germany was DDR, Deutsche Demokratische Republik, or GDR in English, German Democratic Republic. That separation also split the city of Berlin itself. A barrier was built to close off East Germans' access to West Berlin. That barrier, the Berlin Wall, was erected in 1961. The fall of the Berlin Wall on November 9, 1989 marked the beginning of the end of the Cold War, and eventually the Soviet-occupied East Germany was officially reunited with West Germany on October 3, 1990. To this day, October 3rd is a national holiday in Germany. And with that, let's go ahead and start the tour! We'll kick things off at the Berlin Wall Memorial, where you can still see parts of the Berlin Wall and learn about how life was living near the wall. Next is the Brandenburger Tor, one of the most photographed sites in Berlin. Walk over to the Bundestag, the German Parliament building, and then to the Memorial of the Murdered Jews of Europe. We continue to Checkpoint Charlie, a historically very significant place, and from here we head over to the Berlin Story Bunker, a museum in an actual bunker. Next, we'll check out the Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church before visiting the second largest department store in Europe, the KaDeWe, and then take a stroll along the Kurfürstendamm, the main shopping street of Berlin. You'll want to have 2 days for this tour. If you only have 1 day, you'd have to skip some of these stops. The Berlin Wall Memorial gives you a moving insight into the division of Berlin. What was once the border strip between West and East Berlin is now a place of remembrance. Growing up in Germany, I learned a lot about East and West Germany in school, but going to this site really told a story about life during this very special time in German history. I highly recommend going here. In my opinion, this is a must visit on your trip to Berlin to fully understand what life was like in a divided Germany and specifically Berlin. You'll learn about lots of interesting stories of the people that lived in this area being separated from their neighbors. Bernauer Straße, the street we are on, became a historical site with the construction of the wall. The Berlin Wall was erected here in August 1961 directly in front of the East Berlin houses. Some residents decided to take flight at the last minute and used ropes to climb out of their windows. Others were forced to move out and the windows of their houses were bricked over. The picture of the GDR soldier Konrad Schumann, who jumped over the barbed wire 2 days after the division of Berlin, is still famous today. Over the years, the East Berliner constructed numerous escape tunnels around Bernauer Straße. When the partition of the city was finally over, the first segments were broken off the Berlin Wall in the night from the 10th to the 11th of November 1989. The large open-air exhibition on the former border strip covers 4 areas with historical audio materials and pictures, a visitor center, and an observation tower. You can still see a 70-meter stretch of the Berlin Wall with a border strip and watchtower directly on the Bernauer Straße. The window of memorial portrays the 130 people who were shot or died trying to escape East Berlin. Alright, now we'll hop on a S-Bahn at the Nordbahnhof station to get to the Brandenburger Tor. You can either take the S1, S2 or S25 and it only takes a few minutes. Here we are at the Brandenburger Tor, the Brandenburg Gate. It's one of the most iconic sites of Berlin. Not only is it Berlin's only surviving historical gate, but also became a symbol of Berlin's Cold War division into East and West, and since the fall of the wall, a reunified Germany. The Brandenburg Gate was constructed between 1788 and 1791 and was Berlin's first Greek revival building inspired by the monumental gateway at the entrance to the Acropolis in Athens. 2 years after the completion, the gate was crowned by the quadriga statue that you see on top of the Brandenburg Gate. In 1946, with the post-war division of Germany and Berlin, the Brandenburg Gate was in the Soviet sector. When the Berlin Wall went up in 1961, the gate stood in an exclusion zone in an arc of the wall and was inaccessible for locals and visitors alike. When the wall came down, 100,000 people gathered here for the Brandenburg Gate's official opening on December 22, 1989, and a few days later crowds celebrated the first joint New Year's Eve in this once divided city. Today, the Brandenburg Gate symbolizes a reunited Berlin. The gate faces the Pariser Platz, one of the city's most attractive squares, which was in ruins until reconstruction started in the 1990s after German reunification. It is now home to embassies and the impressive 5-star Hotel Adlon, which is where celebrities and government officials usually stay when visiting Berlin. Note that there is a Berlin tourist info store in the south wing of the gate where you can book tours, get information and maps. A very short walk takes us to the Reichstag, a symbol of democracy and the current home of the German parliament. The original part of the building is modeled after the Memorial Hall in Philadelphia. The Reichstag was completed in 1894 and the iconic dedication on its facade, Dem Deutschen Volke, to the German people, was added in 1916. The Reichstag was the home of the German parliament until 1933 when the building was damaged in a fire. Under Nazi dictatorship, the building fell into neglect and was severely damaged during World War II. In 1945, it was one of the primary targets of the Red Army due to its perceived propaganda value. After the war, West Germany's parliament was relocated to the city of Bonn and the Reichstag building remained a virtual ruin until 1961 when a partial renovation was undertaken in the shadow of the newly erected Berlin Wall. Throughout the Cold War and until the German reunification in 1990, the Reichstag was the site of a permanent German history exhibition, and in 1990 the building was the site of the official reunification ceremony. 1 year later, it was decided that the Reichstag will once again become the home of the German National Parliament. A massive restoration of the building commenced, and it was not until April 19, 1999 when the new German government convened at the Reichstag for the first time. You can visit the roof terrace and dome of the building. Admission is free, but very important, you need to register online prior to your visit. There's also a possibility to register on site, but there might not be availability, and you need to register at least 2 hours before your actual visit. So I highly recommend getting this done prior to your visit. I'll leave a link in the description below. The dome sits directly above the debating chamber of the parliament. A mirrored cone at its center directs light into the Reichstag, increasing the building's energy efficiency and affording visitors a view of the parliamentary proceedings below. As you walk up inside the dome, you can listen to an audio guide with interesting facts about the building and its surroundings. The audio guide is available in 12 languages. I highly recommend including the visit to the dome while you're at the Reichstag, so make sure to plan ahead and register for your visit. While the Reichstag is located just north of the Brandenburg Gate, a short walk south of the gate takes us to the Holocaust Memorial named Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe, a place of contemplation, remembrance, and warning. The competition to design this memorial was won by New York architect Peter Eisenman and was opened in 2005. The area with 2,711 concrete slabs of different heights is open day and night. You can immerse yourself in this fully accessible spatial structure. Its openness and abstractness gives you space to confront the topic in your own personal way. According to Eisenman's project text, the slabs are designed to produce an uneasy, confusing atmosphere, and the whole sculpture aims to represent a supposedly ordered system that has lost touch with human reason. The Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe Foundation official website states that the design represents a radical approach to the traditional concept of a memorial, partly because Eisenman said the number and design of the monument had no symbolic significance. An attached underground place of information holds the names of approximately 3 million Jewish Holocaust victims. A 15-minute walk from the memorial takes us to Checkpoint Charlie, which was the best-known border crossing between East and West Berlin during the Cold War. Even though the wall has been gone for a while now and the turnpikes and watchtowers of Checkpoint Charlie have been replaced by replicas, the interest in the former border crossing remains high, making it one of the most visited sites in Berlin. When Berlin was divided into East and West, the former military checkpoint was controlled by the Americans. Only foreigners, employees of the permanent mission of the Federal Republic of Germany in the GDR, and GDR officials were allowed to cross the border here. The border crossing gained notoriety in October 1961 after the construction of the Berlin Wall. In the last days of October, American and Soviet tanks took up position here after members of the US mission were asked to identify themselves at the GDR border post when passing through the Allied checkpoint. Soviet and Allied tanks faced each other with live ammunition, and a Third World War almost ensued. In the years that followed, the checkpoint was the scene of spectacular escapes which often ended in death. Nearby is a gift shop where you can purchase parts of the original wall, and you'll also find the Wall Museum in the immediate vicinity. You can see a part of the wall in front of the museum. Inside the museum you can learn about numerous escape attempts from East to West Berlin. I did not visit this museum, so I cannot speak to how it is. A 15-minute walk from the Wall Museum gets us to the Berlin Story Bunker, where you can discover Berlin on a chronological journey through the city's history in an unusual museum located in an actual bunker. They don't allow filming inside, but I visited this museum and highly recommend it. But only if you have the time, as you'll spend at least 3 hours here. Being located in an actual bunker makes this visit even more special, and nearby you can also see the Anhalter train station, which was one of 3 stations in Berlin where 55,000 Berlin Jews were deported, and it played an important role in Hitler's grand plan to transform Berlin into the Welthauptstadt, the world capital Germania. Alright, a short walk from the Anhalter train station takes us to the U-Bahn Station Möckernbrücke, where we hop on the U-Bahn number 1 to the Kurfürstendamm. As you exit the underground station, you'll immediately see this church, the Kaiser Wilhelm Gedächtniskirche, or Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church, the symbolic center of West Berlin. The original West Tower was partially destroyed during a bombing by the Allied forces in 1943. Its striking ruin now rises into the sky as a memorial for peace between the nations. Every year, a popular Christmas market takes place around the Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church. Visitors can take a stroll, eat festive dishes, and shop at over 200 stalls while listening to Christmas music. In December 2016, a tragedy unfortunately happened at the Christmas market right in front of the church when a terrorist drove a tractor trailer into market goers. 11 people died in the attack and another 55 were injured. Today, a golden crack in the ground in front of the church commemorates the victims of this attack. Just a few blocks from the church, we get to the KaDeWe, which is short for Kaufhaus des Westens, or translated Department Store of the West. It's the second largest department store in Europe after Harrods in London and offers a great range of goods and services. It was built in 1907 and the building suffered severe damage due to a fire during World War II. After extensive reconstruction, it reopened on July 3, 1950, and an astonishing 180,000 people visited on that first day. Today you can find pretty much everything on the 6 floors of the KaDeWe. Can you guess how many employees work here? 100, 500, 1,000, or maybe even 2,000? Yes, it is indeed 2,000, which just shows you how big of a store this is. Alright, now while the KaDeWe is not officially on the Kurfürstendamm, it is just around the corner. So let's go ahead and take a stroll along the Kurfürstendamm, or short Kudamm, Berlin's most popular shopping boulevard. You'll pass shops of international brands and famous names, flagship stores of famous labels, and more. Around the year 1542, Elector Joachim II had a log road built from his palace in Berlin to his hunting lodge in nearby Grunewald. The oldest document showing the existence of this unnamed path dates back to 1685. Once the road was fully paved in 1886, it developed into a boulevard. When the city was divided, the Kurfürstendamm became the heart of West Berlin and the shopping mecca of the Western world with all the latest fashions. In those days, Berliner and tourists alike sat outside cafes, wandered through the shops and department stores, and danced through the night in the discos. After reunification, Kurfürstendamm and the area around it became quieter in the evenings when the nightlife moved to the new clubs opening in the east of the city. Many established cafes and restaurants closed. But the recent revival in the city west, with some new developments, has benefited the Kurfürstendamm, which has become an increasingly elegant shopping boulevard. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed the tour, and if you're traveling through Europe, a great next destination would be Prague in the Czech Republic, and then you could continue down to Munich in southern Germany. I have videos for both of those destinations up on my channel, which you can check out right here. And with that, I say thank you and Dankeschön!